Tickets for a movie that doesn't release until July 17th, 2026 are already on sale. You heard that right. A full year in advance. Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is hitting IMAX pre-order status. And this isn't some novelty announcement. It's a deliberate strategy, unfolding with precision and purpose. One that's built on Nolan's name, the cultural heft of Homer's epic, and the evolving realities of moviegoing itself. Now let's start with the obvious. Christopher Nolan doesn't just release movies. He launches cinematic events. He turned films like Interstellar, Inception, and more recently Oppenheimer into rituals, where the screen isn't just a platform, it's the altar. Oppenheimer grossed $975 million globally. 20% of that came from IMAX screenings alone. Some theaters were running sold-out shows weeks into release. Fans crossed state lines to see it in 70mm. That's not loyalty, it's pilgrimage. And now, The Odyssey is taking that energy and ritualizing it. Variety reports that IMAX tickets will only be available at select theaters equipped with 70mm projectors and only for specific showtimes. This isn't just early access, it's engineered exclusivity. Nolan isn't just selling seats, he's offering a cinematic commitment. It makes sense when you consider how rare this kind of early push is, especially for non-franchise films. Since the pandemic, audiences haven't just been choosing what to watch, they've been choosing reliability over risk. Branded universes like Marvel, DC, and Fast and Furious dominate because they offer familiarity. You know the beats, you know the stakes, you know what you're getting. That predictability is comforting when movie tickets start to rival the cost of just owning the film on Blu-ray. And it's not just the ticket, it's the whole experience. Premium formats, reserved seating, surging concession prices, it adds up fast. So when moviegoers head to a theater, they're not just making a plan, they're placing a bet. With prices climbing and streaming offering convenience, physical media becomes the safer value proposition. Replayability, special features, shelf presence, the theater becomes a test of worth. So yeah, audience caution is justified. That's why Oppenheimer's theatrical success in 2023 was such a shock. A 3-hour biopic about nuclear science doesn't scream blockbuster. Until social media spun gold from coincidence. Warner Brothers dropped Barbie on the same day Nolan dropped Oppenheimer. Now, some saw it as a very petty move, the studio throwing shade after Nolan jumped ship to Universal. But the internet didn't care about studio politics by and large. It created Barbenheimer, the unlikely fusion of pink fantasy and atomic dread. The memes took over, TikTok exploded, fan art mashed Margot Robbie and Cillian Murphy into surreal cinema hybrids. Barbenheimer wasn't just a double feature, it was the cultural moment of the year, the box office draw of 2023. And it proves something. Theatrical experiences aren't dead, they're just dormant. But if the moment feels mythic, audiences still show up. The Odyssey could be that next moment. Now let's talk source material itself. Homer's Odyssey isn't just a foundational text, it's the backbone of Western storytelling. The journey home, the confrontation with fate, the pull of identity, it's all there. And we've seen screen adaptations before. In 1954, Kirk Douglas and Anthony Quinn starred in Ulysses, a sword and sandal epic that pushed mid-century filmmaking to its technical limits. Directed by Mario Camerini and co-produced by Italian cinema titans Dino De Laurentiis and Carlo Ponti, it deployed miniatures, matte paintings, and full-scale sets to visualize the myth. Eugen Shufton, who helped pioneer visual effects in Metropolis, handled special effects. For its time, Ulysses was state-of-the-art filmmaking. Flash forward to 1997. Hallmark Channel's miniseries adaptation starring Armando Santi, a TV budget, sure, but it swung for the gods. The channel was on a hot streak at the time, having followed up a year later with Merlin starring Sam Neill, Rutger Hauer, Helena Bonham Carter, Martin Short. Big names, intimate storytelling. Merlin snagged Emmy wins and proved that Hallmark could elevate fantasy without needing theatrical release. While the Odyssey miniseries didn't win the same accolades, it delivered the full arc. Circe, the Cyclops, the Sirens, the journey home, it's all intact. And then there's Oh Brother Where Art Thou? The Coen brothers' 2000 satirical masterpiece starring George Clooney, John Turturro, and Tim Blake Nelson. It's not a direct adaptation, but it's absolutely a spiritual one. Set in the American South during the Great Depression, it reimagines Homer's epic through chain gangs, radio stations, and bluegrass music. Clooney's character is literally named Ulysses Everett McGill. There's a Cyclops, John Goodman's one-eyed Bible salesman. There are sirens, 3 women by the river who seduce and distract the trio, and supposedly turn John Turturro into a frog. There's even a journey home to reclaim a wife, with Holly Hunter playing the Penelope stand-in, with her name literally being Penny. It's all there, just filtered through sepia tones and Southern folklore. The Coens didn't just reference the Odyssey, they embedded it in Americana. But none of these adaptations had the cinematic muscle Nolan brings. They didn't have the full IMAX arsenal. They didn't have a studio willing to market the film a year out. And they didn't have the cultural spotlight Nolan now commands. And yes, Tenet tried to claim that spotlight too, but it stumbled. Not because of lockdown restrictions, not because theaters were half empty. It struggled because it lacked internal logic. Time travel films only work when their mechanics hold up under scrutiny. Back to the Future, 12 Monkeys, 2023's The Flash, The Butterfly Effect. Each has a visual or narrative rulebook for how time bends or breaks. Tenet offered none of that, with the line literally saying, "Don't try to understand it, just feel it." That line wasn't deep, it was an escape hatch. Without logic, time travel falls apart, and audiences felt that disconnect. So now we ask, what happens if Nolan commits fully to the Odyssey? Not just stylistically, not just thematically, but structurally. A runtime north of 3 hours, dialogue that breathes, world building that spans oceans and nations. No more minimalist experiments like Dunkirk, which, while impactful, ran under 2 hours and offered sparse exposition. Basically, if you did not know about the Battle of Dunkirk, you're not going to get the history lesson from the movie itself. The Odyssey needs scale. It needs momentum. It needs space for its characters and gods to actually speak. And it needs a score. Think the 10 Commandments, with Elmer Bernstein's thunderous orchestration that made Charlton Heston feel larger than life. Or Bernard Herrmann's dynamic, adventurous music for the seventh Voyage of Sinbad, where every creature and island had its own sonic identity. Those scores weren't decorative, they were elemental. They gave movement, emotion, and grandeur to myth. The Odyssey demands the same. If Nolan taps a composer who understands the terrain, not just musically but spiritually, it'll elevate the journey into something timeless. Of course, vision alone isn't enough. Universal Pictures has to support that vision with rollout and reach. This can't just be an IMAX play. It needs theatrical saturation, general release marketing, legs beyond opening weekend. The same kind of full court press Paramount gave Top Gun Maverick. That film didn't just succeed, it reignited the value of the big screen. Nostalgia helped, sure, but it was strategy and theatrical devotion that made it last. Nolan's Odyssey has that same opportunity. It's a story we already know, a cast that bridges generations, and a director with the technical and thematic weight to deliver something truly monumental. Early ticket sales aren't just hype, they're a bet that this will be the film to define cinematic 2026. So let's hear it. Are you grabbing tickets a year out? Do you think The Odyssey will be Nolan's masterpiece? Or is it walking a path already worn by epic predecessors? And what's your favorite adaptation of Homer's work? Film, television, animation, whatever it is. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's build that conversation. Because at its core, this is about more than marketing. It's about reasserting that film can still feel mythic, that the journey home can still be worth the wait. So until next time, remember, not every epic begins with a bang. Some start quietly with a single ticket booked a year in advance.